G'day Sports by Fry fans, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sports by Fry YouTube channel here. Less than chipper after a pretty tough round at 16 to the large Fries and Coke. There were a lot of problems in the AFL Fantasy world this week for plenty of coaches, so by no means is my story the only sad story out there, but yeah, that one hurt. I ended up deciding my final trades by flipping a coin, which gives you a bit of an insight into how the weekend went. Plenty to unpack from round 16 though, so without further ado, let's dive in. Let's get this over with. Let's talk about my team. I scored 18.92 on the weekend, so not the points total that I coveted, but it is what it is. My defense was actually reasonably good this week. I got the weekend started off with a bang the right way after James Sicily's outing, 121. He had, which was nice to see. Lloydie got 110 as well for me, so I can't complain there. The two Adelaide boys, both top 90. Sydney Stack was fine. Griffin Lowe was really my only blip on the radar in defence, and Ainsworth on my bench continues to make me a bit of money, so not terrible from my defence. The momentum didn't continue into my midfield, though. Let's get the worst out of the way quickly. I made Nat Fyfe my captain on the weekend. Tried to be a little bit fancy, tried to go left of field. Didn't pay off. He only scored 61. Of course, Fyfe would dish up his lowest score of the year the week I make him captain after giving him a huge pump up. But whatever. He wasn't the person, funnily enough, that I was the most angry about though. Angus Brayshaw against Carlton. All the stars aligned for him to finally right the ship and continue climbing to a 700k player, but couldn't do it. Only managed to 65. I had Kyle Dunkley on my field as well, so the points weren't flying from the Ds against the Blues, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much there. It's my own situation I've put myself in. My other premiums didn't really put up huge scores, which probably held me back from pushing closer to 2,000 for the round. I had hundreds just from Treloar, Gaff, McRae, Taranto was a little bit off, and Mitch Duncan actually hasn't really been the player that I thought he would be when I bought him off his buy round, so that kind of stung. As I've talked about in the rucks, Brodie Grundy got his 100, which was fine, but Max Gawn not playing hurt me. I decided against trading him to Scott Lysett. That was my plan all along. I couldn't use that money to then get from Brayshaw, or I can't remember my other trade out. Drew, that's right. Couldn't get from Willem Drew to anyone really noteworthy that I liked, so decided against it, did a double downgrade instead, and now I'm one of the 40% of coaches praying that Max Gawn gets up this week. Finally, the forward line was alright. Trav Boak being our laid out was a bit of a bummer, but I was luckily enough to have it playing emergency in my forward line, so took Jared Cameron's 50 odd. Billings and Danger were good for me. Zeeble was good. Walpole was alright, but a little bit lackluster from Tim Kelly held me back as well. So a couple of the premiums, if I had got another 20 or 30 points from the blokes that are usually good for another 20 or 30 points, I would have been alright. But again, like I've said at the start of the video, I wasn't the only coach with all these problems. As I transition into injury issues, some of those blokes that missed round 16 are no certainty to play in round 17. Of course, I'm talking about the likes of Max Gawn mainly after injuring his ankle the week prior. My gut tells me that he'll play, but we'll have to wait and see throughout the week. Trav Boak should be a certain starter. Ken Hinkley has said he'll play, but nothing's a certainty in the fantasy world, so monitor his status as well. Along with Steve Cornelio, who injured his knee apparently before half-time in the Giants game, so that could see him maybe miss a week. It looks like he'll get up, but again, nothing's a certainty. His teammate though, Josh Kelly, the news isn't as good. He's going to miss a couple of weeks with a calf injury. Really big one for a lot of the competition. I think he's in about 20% of teams. So his costs 850k, so you can definitely move him around to a couple of bits and pieces. Maybe help you get another rookie off your field there. But he's pretty much a must trade considering he's going to miss a couple of weeks. He could even miss a few more weeks. The Giants have a pretty tough schedule coming up win-loss wise, so if they fail to fire there and really fall out of the race for finals, they might rush him back, but if they can win a couple of games, he might just be kept on ice for a little bit longer. Another popular bloke in Marty Hall broke his collarbone on the weekend, so he's pretty much out for 3 to 4 weeks, closer to a month I think, so chances are he could be done and dusted for the fantasy season. I think he might get back late in the year, but you can't be holding him, especially if he's on your field, so I'd look to move him on. And someone who was expected to be back last week, but will seemingly return this week. Pulled up a little bit sore on Friday night is Lachie Whitfield. I'd rather give him 1 week and just wait and see what his injury looks like. Similar can be said actually for Taylor Adams as well, who should come back into the Pies team this week, but I'd want to just wait a week on those blokes and see how their injury issues pan out. Quickly diving into some trade tactics now. I think it's fine to consider Tom Rockcliffe as a trade-in target this week. Nearly 3,500 coaches brought him in last week for his big 150. He got the +5 this week for Fry's favourite 5, so nothing wrong with considering Rocky. I do like the looks of a Eagles duo in the form of Andrew Gaff and Luke Shuey. Honestly, I'm not sure which one I like better as well. Gaffy's form hasn't been amazing recently, but you could make the case that he has the highest fantasy floor in fantasy, so for that reason I'd probably advise going Gaff a hair over Shuey, but Shuey's only 10-15 grand less than Gaff at the moment, which is a testament to his recent numbers. His last 2 months have been pretty unreal, and while he'll dish up a 70 or an 80 here or there, I think he's a good trade-in target. If you're looking down back for a replacement, sticking with the Eagles theme, I like the looks of Shannon Hearn this week. Only priced at 600 grand, or 606 if you want to get technical, but got a break even of 110. He's ripe for the picking against the Pies this weekend. If you're after a youngster, I think Oliver Hanrahan is still gettable. 211k he'll cost you, and I think he should play, at least for the next few weeks, some regular games for the Hawks, string some 60s together, and hopefully make us another chunk of coin. Marbiot Chol's probably too expensive now, but you might want to consider someone like Kyle Dunkley, who made his debut for the D's on the weekend. He only costs 180 grand. Didn't light the world on fire, but I think he'll keep his spot in the side, hopefully for the next few weeks, but we'll have to wait and see. Similar can be said for Isaac Quaynor as well, down back. Came in to make his debut, scored a good 70. He's 270 grand now, so it's a pretty penny, but if you've got someone like Answorth or maybe Griff Lowe, you can do a move there and make a quick buck. Blokes to consider trading out. I think the injury issues for some of these big names will dictate a lot of moves this week. Josh Kelly has pretty much got to go. He's toast for the next couple of weeks, so I would look to maybe get someone a little bit cheaper. You could get Rocky and make 110 grand, or you could even go down to someone like Lachie Neale, who's put up some good numbers. He's under 700k, and you can use that extra bit of savings to maybe get another rookie off your field. There are plenty of trade options out there for these really expensive guys. Max Gawn's also in that boat. If he doesn't get up, there's nothing wrong with considering a trade out for him. So monitor those blokes and see how you go. If you are still stuck with Angus Brayshaw, I've kind of pushed the issue for a few weeks, but he's not the same player that we thought he was at the start of the year. He's got to go. Even if he comes back and scores a couple of tons, you can still turn into something semi-decent considering he's priced over 600k. You could even look at going down to someone like Mark Murphy or Dan Hanbury. So I think Brayshaw's time has come to an end. On the rookie front, I've already addressed most of these issues, but Marty Hall, his injury will keep him out for nearly a month. He's got to go. Griffin Lowe can't be putting up 30s on our field, so if he's on your field, I'd look to move him on pretty quickly. Can leave him on your bench if you're needing a playing emergency. We found out on the weekend how important they are, but you could, again, chase a move to someone like Quaynor. That would make you a good chunk of change. You can also probably move on from Oscar Baker and Brett Bewley if they're not named this week. They may come back into the side and play some fantasy footy to end the year, but they're worth a decent chunk of coin. So if someone like Kyle Dunkley appeals to you and he holds his spot, or maybe even Will Snelling gets up for a debut, I'd lock that in. Waiver wire watch, very quickly. I think Toby McLean is the pick of the waiver wire blokes at the moment. Now, he might not be available in your league because he's nearly in 70% of teams, but I was surprised to find him on my scrap heap and added him pretty swiftly, so make sure you do the same if he's sitting there. You could also consider Jack Silvani, who had a pretty good game on the weekend for Carlton with 109. He's got defense and forward flexibility, so that might appeal to you if you want to get a versatile player for your draft side. Another bloke with dual positioning status in Bailey Fritsch appeals to me. Surprised to see that he's in less than 20% of teams, and that number won't stay that low if he keeps scoring like he did on the weekend. Again, he played the Blues on the weekend, so don't go expecting 120 every week, but he looks like a lively sort. And Sean McKernan from the Bombers is someone that if you need some ruck help, you might want to pick up now. He's gone 190 in his last 2 outings, and after Zach Clark dished up a pretty awful game, we could see McKernan be Essendon's go-to ruckman for the rest of the season, and as a result, he'll probably gain ruck status when the last batch of dual positioners come out in round 18, so definitely some targets there, and I do like the looks of McKernan for sure. Last thing before I wrap this thing up, my moves. Now, it's going to be hard for me to resist spending all the money I've got in my bank in 1 week and move on the likes of Brayshaw and Lowe. I managed to do a double down and now have 400 grand in my savings account, so could use that to bring in someone like Shannon Hearn. That appeals to me quite a bit. Might even also look at getting Luke Shuey for Brayshaw this week. There are some other value plays around there. Maybe I look at getting Lockie Neal. That only costs me about 70, 80 grand to go Brayshaw to Neal, so that is tempting. If Max Gawn doesn't play though, my hand might be forced. I don't know if I can keep copping donuts in the ruck spot, but I'll have to monitor that one and wait and see. If another couple of debutants present themselves as well, I might look at doing them and grabbing them for my bench spot because, like I said, playing emergencies are important. So plenty to consider at the large fries and Coke, but definitely trending towards a West Coast Eagles flavour this weekend. And that's going to do it for the round 16 wrap-up. Thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you read the whole round wrap-up by hitting the link in the description down below. My Cash Cows article is going to be out tomorrow, so make sure you visit the Dream Team Talk site for that one. But thanks again for tuning in. Good luck in round 17 and for the last little bit of the fantasy season. Some of you may be in the similar boat as me and had a pretty average weekend, but it's important to not let one bad week ruin the rest of our season. There's still plenty to play for with 1/3 of the fantasy season up for grabs, so good luck for it. Thanks again. Until next time, peace.